Hello, this is Dr. Paola Mina Osorio, author of Un Doctor Por Favor and the Hispanics in Medicine and Science book series, and welcome to Un Doctor Por Favor in 5 minutes or less. Today, we're going to learn about the terms Hispanic and Latino and when they started to be used in the US. The term Latino is shorthand for the Spanish word Latinoamericano, Latin American. The term Hispanic is typically associated to the use of the Spanish language. Believe it or not, the word Hispanic came into existence in the mid-1500s. And the key distinction is the association of Hispanic with the use of the Spanish language and Latino with the use of all other Latin-based Roman languages like Portuguese, as well as with the geographic origin of the person and their ancestry. Only 20% of Hispanics use the controversial terms Hispanic or Latino, and the majority of them use the demonym corresponding to the country of origin, for example, Ecuadorian, Mexican, etc. Those who have a preference choose Hispanic, according to some surveys, which is the term introduced in the 70s by an advisory committee assembled by the Nixon administration to try and identify the best way to describe this population in order to appropriately quantify its needs. But when did Hispanics or Latinos come to the US, and when did we start counting? Since the passing of the 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act, approximately 59 million immigrants have come to the US. The first immigration waves in the mid-1800s brought approximately 14 million immigrants, almost all European. But then half of the immigrants coming to the country since 1965 have come from Latin America and 1/4 from Asia. As you can see in this graph, the first attempt to count Hispanics appeared as part of the race question, which had a category for Mexican in the 1930s, and the terminology of Central, South American, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Mexican, other Spanish was introduced in 1970. But the question on Hispanic origin was only included in long-term questionnaires sent to just a sample of the population. And it wasn't until 1976 that the US Congress passed the only law in this country's history that mandated the collection and analysis of data for a specific ethnic group, and they called it Americans of Spanish origin. A separate question about Hispanic origin was really not introduced until the 1980 census, and it was the 2000 census that first introduced the term Latino. The most recent censuses, 2010 and 2020, included changes to more clearly distinguish Hispanic ethnicity as not being a race, meaning Hispanics can be of any race. But remember, the terms Hispanic, Latino, Latinx, Latina are just names that we use to describe the population and to determine how many of us are there in the US so that we can appropriately allocate resources. But words don't define us. We are united by our culture, our language, our ancestry. No matter where we come from, we are here together and we must help each other rise. In the next video, we will talk about Hispanic identity that goes way beyond terminology. In a survey of thousands of Hispanics from several countries, half of the participants say that they had no preference between Hispanic or Latino. Among those who do have a preference, the majority say that they prefer Hispanic, and that's why I've chosen to use that term in this book, just to be respectful of that choice and because of the importance of the Spanish language and linguistically appropriate communication in healthcare, which is a very important message of my book. However, I will occasionally use the term Latino to respect the choice of authors that prefer that word, or those of you readers who prefer that word. Our goal as a community is to remember that patients of all races and ethnicities, including Hispanic and Latino, need and deserve fair and appropriate healthcare. So in future videos, we will talk about cultural and linguistic competence in healthcare. Labels like Spanish or Hispanic or Latin come and go. Identity is something totally separate. What matters is who we are. See you next time.